Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's session, Eliminate Inefficiencies with CPQ. Thank you all very much for joining. Before we begin, I would like to cover a few quick notes about our webinar platform. Today's webinar will be available on demand after we wrap up and will be accessible through the URL you are on right now. Please note the slides will advance automatically throughout the presentation. To enlarge the slides, click the Enlarge Slides button located in the top right corner of the slides window. Should you need technical assistance, click on the Help widget located on the bottom left corner of your console. We've also added some additional resources, which will be available through the Resources window to the left of the slides. Lastly, I encourage you to submit questions at any time throughout the presentation using the Ask a Question widget at the bottom of your console. We will answer as many questions as we can at the end of this presentation. And with that, let's get started. Before we dive into great content that we have lined up for you, I'd like to take a moment to remind you that we are a publicly traded company, so please make all your purchasing decisions based on what's in the marketplace today. My name is Nisha Patton. I am with the product marketing team here at Salesforce CPQ, and I am thrilled to be joined by Vuk from DME and Jean-Michel from Nubik, and they're going to share their CPQ journey later in the presentation. Here are some of the key areas that we will be covering today. First off, why you cannot afford business as usual. What are those typical bottlenecks that are holding you back from faster sales cycles? And you will get a quick overview of what CPQ can do to help eliminate those bottlenecks and inefficiencies. Later, you'll hear from Vuk on DME's CPQ journey. And finally, you will see a mock demo of how DME is using Salesforce CPQ. According to Harvard Business Review, manufacturing sales teams that successfully make buying easier are actually 62% more likely to win a sale. Especially in complex, highly considered purchases like those in manufacturing, buyers prefer a more prescriptive sales experience that makes it easier for them to navigate their options and purchase the right solutions for their needs. Customers are expecting more products, more options, and more engaging ways to buy products. So disconnected sales and operations result in slower order fulfillment, poor forecasting abilities, ineffective inventory management. Inaccuracies at the product configuration level can trickle all the way down to the production floor and even cost tens of hundreds of thousands maybe in irreparable costs. And finally, the channel partners. So you're depending on your partners, whether they are distributors, resellers, contractors, or wholesalers. So minimizing that channel conflict and enhancing visibility to promote collaborative selling can mean the difference between being in the red versus being in the green. And all of this complexity is what you as a company are trying to manage. And although most manufacturers realize that the need to be more customer-centric and be agile, outdated and clunky and sometimes even manual processes can act as a barrier. Most of the Salesforce customers I've spoken with have experienced one or many of the issues that are listed here. So whether it's manual swivel chair data entry in Excel, data lookup from multiple systems, SKU proliferation, or poor control over pricing and discounting, the ultimate result of all of this is a delay in responding to customers and poor productivity. That is exactly where Salesforce CPQ can deliver results. Our Salesforce ecosystem is the answer to all of the challenges experienced by most manufacturers. Configure, price, quote, or CPQ software solutions have been around for decades, but for most manufacturers, they've been very costly, overly technical, and highly inflexible. And for most of the salespeople, they've been difficult to use. Salesforce CPQ is an intuitive, mobile, and user-friendly tool that simplifies quote creation, pricing, and contract management. So with Salesforce CPQ, you can create quotes, manage products, contracts, and pricing easily. Built on the Salesforce platform, CPQ allows you to close deals faster and gain visibility into sales as well as partner pipe forecast. So what does all of this really mean? It means you can blaze the path into a digital world with Sales Cloud and CPQ, getting you real, tangible business results. Speaking of blazing trails and being a trailblazer, I'd like to hand it over to Vuk, who is his own very trailblazer at DME, and he's going to share his story with us today. Over to you, Vuk.
Thanks, Nisha, and hello, everybody. It's a pleasure being able to speak to all of you today. My name is Vuk Stajc, and I'm proudly speaking on behalf of DME Brewing Solutions, which is a division of the DME Group. My role as the sales development engineer combines direct customer sales and internal system support. This is what put me in charge of managing and drastically improving our Salesforce instance. Before I begin discussing in detail all of the exciting things that we've done throughout the course of our project, I must say that I'm really grateful to the entire Salesforce CPQ team for being so interested in our progression in this very key project. Our entire team is glad to know that we have all of Salesforce behind our backs on this. And I really believe that this gesture is truly the best type of customer support any company can offer people who use their platform. It feels like the Salesforce Ohana has welcomed us in. I also want to mention that we're doing this presentation at a historic time for our project. Around this time last year is when we kicked off these Salesforce developments. I really have to say a huge thank you to the whole Nubik team for their support of our vision and for bringing their expertise into our business practice. And finally, a special thanks goes out to Jean-Michel, who has spent long hours making our ideas a reality. I truly believe we're here speaking to you all today, mostly due to his incredible commitment to the project. So, some background on what keeps our company busy. We are a custom steel manufacturer with multiple brands, primarily focusing on the brewing industry. We are active globally. What helps us compete in markets across the map is our network of manufacturing facilities. In 2016, DME purchased and merged with another brewery manufacturer named NSI. We now operate 3 facilities in North America. 2 of those are on opposite coasts of Canada, and 1 is in South Carolina. We also have 2 manufacturing partners in Asia. We have been producing equipment for some of the world's most popular beer brands for over 27 years, and I have been with the company in various capacities since 2014. Our group has 2 sales teams to keep all of those manufacturing facilities busy. As the craft beer industry boomed, we enjoyed more and more success. While we were busy keeping up with the upswing of the industry, our internal sales tools were really left in the past. A year ago, one team was using a custom-coded quoting tool based on SQL 1999 that had no remote access, and the other was using an internally put-together method for generating quotes from Salesforce. While both tools worked, neither allowed our salespeople to be able to rapidly or easily respond to customers' custom product configuration needs. The breweries in our industry are heavily reliant on having the ability to source products that suit their specific procedures. I always say that it seems everyone in our industry has big dreams, but low ceiling heights. This meant our sales team needed to get a lot more flexible than it was. What was slowing us down in the past, most of the time, was our siloed approach. We in the sales team had our customer information stored in Salesforce, separate from the company's ERP system. Until the 2 sales teams merged into one Salesforce organization this year, both teams operated in separate instances. All of this meant that our teams had to deal with a large amount of duplicate data entry. This introduced various problems that sometimes resulted in lost time and money. These separate systems allowed for far too many opportunities for human errors to exponentially degrade the quality of the service we provided to our customers. Because of this, we knew there had to be an integration of our customer data across the entire company. Since customer data generally starts to be collected in our sales process, we knew that having our Salesforce account data sync with our ERP system would result in a large amount of time saved and potential issues avoided. To the same effect, our ERP system also held all of the product material cost details and labor run rates. This meant that our product information was separate from our quoting tool. As a result, our sales execs had to reach out to other departments in many cases when trying to provide a quote so that they could verify the exact product cost details. This was perhaps the root issue that we wanted to resolve as a company to save time and prevent errors. We knew that this would also be resolved through integrating Salesforce with our ERP, such that the information could be kept up to date and live. However, simply connecting the data would have been generally useless if we continued to use our existing quoting tools. So obviously, the biggest issue that we had to resolve was one team's use of a custom standalone and outdated quoting tool, and the other team's use of a burdensome in-house built Salesforce quoting tool. We needed to ensure both teams would have a cutting-edge and reliable quoting engine within our soon-to-be integrated Salesforce instance. We explored various options at the beginning, but very rapidly settled onto Salesforce CPQ. An obvious advantage of CPQ was that it is used within the Salesforce platform, which both teams were used to interacting with daily. We knew that CPQ would be the correct tool to implement from the first time we saw a demo. It was clear that this tool would be the ideal platform for us to customize and develop into something that would drastically help us. We knew that out of the box, the tool would help by giving us the flexibility in product customization that we needed. I don't think we realized then that we would be stretching the capabilities of CPQ as far as we eventually did, but thanks to Nubik's help, we did not hit any unsurmountable obstacles. And thanks to our hard work, we luckily have this great platform today. To us, what made CPQ so appealing, even before considering its technical capabilities, was simply the fact that it is now a Salesforce-owned tool. We knew that as long as we continued to use Salesforce, CPQ would be kept up to date by its development teams. This type of security is priceless, as we know Salesforce has substantial quarterly updates that could have post-compatibility issues down the road if we chose a tool with a smaller development team behind it. While those non-technical benefits were already appealing, the technical capabilities of CPQ were the true reason we committed down this path. We knew that in order for us to catch up with the demand in the industry, we would need to have the ability to not only customize our products on the fly, but to also bundle them. CPQ offered us the ability to create bundles for our most frequent product configurations. This means that our salespeople now have the ability to select the bundle that most closely resembles the given customer's request. And thanks to the great out-of-the-box features, the bundle can also be quickly customized on a per-quote basis. In the past, this was done by cloning older quotes from previous jobs that matched the new client's requests. This often resulted in the salesperson needing to cost-check every item, and the duplication resulted in an amplification of errors. This, again, led to lost time and money. Now, within CPQ, the bundling features combined with the integration of our ERP means that our salespeople can quickly access these pre-configured offerings that have up-to-date pricing without the need for cost verification while avoiding the potential errors from duplication. This is especially beneficial when a customer with a more broad idea of what they're looking for wants a quote for multiple sizes of brew houses. Instead of the salesperson generating multiple quotes for varying sizing and configuration, each needing to be price checked, they can simply select the bundle that meets the needs of the customer. This allows the salesperson to more quickly get through the sales process and narrow down their conversation with the customer towards what they truly need and can afford. In essence, now we're able to more quickly respond to the customer with accurate information, which translates into us being able to grab their attention with less effort. So truly, we have been able to eliminate inefficiencies with CPQ while accelerating the deal cycle and speeding up our team's productivity. On top of that, other essential benefits that we never could have achieved without CPQ are the amount of reporting we're now able to do on our quotes and products. We can quickly measure how many quotes our sales members are generating. We can very thoroughly see which products are quoted and sold the most. And very importantly for us, thanks to the genius work of Jean-Michel and Nubik, we're able to clearly see the details of our margins across our quotes. Before I finish up, I want to mention broadly how we managed to get all of this work done in 1 year so that those listening who are hoping to go down this road soon can do it with confidence. Obviously, our first step was hiring a professional resource, Nubik. Internally, we had me as the dedicated project manager, constantly taking our team's feedback and creating actionable goals for Jean-Michel. Jean-Michel then used various tools of communication, such as video and written demos, to help in the change management process. And finally, we had a lot of on-site training with Jean-Michel and my team members so that everyone would quickly get used to the new tools. So there you have it. Within 1 year, we were able to revolutionize our sales process with CPQ, just like the craft brewing industry has revolutionized the beer world. Again, I'm humbled to be able to speak about this topic in front of everybody listening, and thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned for Jean-Michel's side of the story and our detailed demonstration of the quoting process using CPQ. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Vuk. Hi, everyone. I first want to thank Vuk for his kind words and his dedicated work over the past year. We couldn't have done it without his hard work on DME's end. So I'm Jean-Michel Tremblay. I'm a Salesforce consultant with Nubik. We are Salesforce partners. We are based in Montreal, but we have a presence throughout North America. We are digital transformation experts with more than 75 certified experts working with us. We are 100% focused on the Salesforce ecosystem, and we have experience on the different clouds that Salesforce offers, and we have from lead acquisition to contract renewals. So we have experience throughout the different products available. So DME's project. So what did we use? What did we do there? So we use a lot of Salesforce standard features. So that's obviously what's powerful. CPQ is on the platform, so we were able to leverage all the standard platform features throughout this project. We also leveraged a lot of CPQ specific features that were available to us to showcase what we needed to do and do all the show all the correct information to salespeople at DMEs. And a big part of it, obviously, as Vuk said, was the integration with DME's ERP, where we add account and product sync, and we'll get to that afterwards. So as far as the Salesforce standard features that were used on this project, well, first, Lightning Experience. So DME was using Salesforce Classic when we first started working on this project. So the first step for us was to migrate over to Lightning Experience to leverage all the powerful new features that are available on Lightning Experience. We obviously leverage Process Builder at a couple different steps of this project to automate all the processes that could be automated to reduce the time needed for the salespeople to work in there. We've also used standard approval processes from Salesforce for the approval of quotes. We'll get to that part during the demo. And we've also used multi-currency as DME is working with customers all over the world, so they quote in both Canadian dollars and US dollars. Regarding Salesforce CPQ features, well, product bundles was a big part of it, as Vuk said. So we've set up a lot of standard bundles that the salespeople can use, start from, and then modify. Within those bundles, we also have nested bundles, so different levels of multiple levels within the same bundle. We'll also demo that a bit later. And price rules. So price rules is the automations that we can use on CPQ, which allow us to have real-time calculations happen on the line editor. We'll see how that works for the salespeople, how that makes their experience a lot better when quoting by seeing real-time margin updates depending on what they choose to do as far as discounts go, or if they need to modify material costs or labor hours for a custom product. And as I said, integration with DME's ERP, that was a big part of it. So what do we have there? So DME uses Syspro as an ERP, and we have two syncs going on nightly. So Salesforce accounts with the ERP account syncing both ways every night. So any change that happens either in Salesforce or Syspro gets pushed over to the other platform nightly. So we always have up-to-date information on the operations side and on the sales side. But the biggest part as far as quoting goes was obviously the syncing of products and product costs. So nightly we update all the different costs of the products available in Salesforce. What that means is that whenever salespeople at DME create a new quote, they know that they're quoting with the most up-to-date cost. They know that they have the up-to-date material cost, labor hours, so they know that they're quoting with the best numbers available, and they know that they're giving a good price to the customer, which is going to be also good for DME because they have the correct information to provide to them. So that's a high-level overview of how we went over that product, but we'll jump in the demo right away. I'll let Vuk take over for this part. I'll jump in at a couple different steps to show you what we've done in CPQ. So with that, over to you, Vuk.
Thanks, Jean-Michel. Allow me just a second, everybody, to set up my screen share. This is the fun part. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I'm just going to jump right into it. So right now we're sitting at the home page of our Salesforce instance. Right now we're in our sandbox. I just wanted to quickly highlight, I specifically mentioned that we're able to generate reports that we never were able to before. This is just an example of that, where, as you see, we're able to see exactly how many quotes our members are sending out per month. We're able to see by origin of the product, our average margins, and our total opportunity margins over our month for closed jobs. Now, we're going to jump right into a new opportunity. This is the new San Francisco brewery. This is an entrepreneur by the name of Becky Brewer, who's planning a new brewery in the Mission Bay area of San Francisco. Now, scrolling through this opportunity, I'm able to see that this is a 10-barrel brewhouse request. I see that it's a 2-vessel steam system that she's looking for. This request would have come in from our website through a standard Salesforce feature called Web to Lead. Here in particular, I noticed that the customer is requesting a single-size cold liquor tank. Our standard would be double size, so just keep that in the back of your head for later. And also here I see that they want 3 uni tanks, a quantity of 3 uni tanks. Our standard is 4, so also keep that in the back of your mind for later. Now, with all of this information that I've gathered, I'm now ready to start a quote. The way we do that is through this custom new quote button. I'm going to give the quote a name. Let's just call it quote 1. I want to set this quote as the primary. This means that the value of this quote is going to be seen on the opportunity. My quote description, I'm going to use a descriptor. So it's a 10-barrel, 2-vessel steam. Now, because I already have a primary contact, I actually don't need to add a primary contact here. You see it's associated with the account and with me as the sales rep. I can also choose my quote terms. We have a various amounts of preset terms. I'll stick with 50-50, and later on we can modify that from our quote to match whatever the customer needs to get the job closed. And just so you know, each of these quotes gets an automatic unique number that's assigned by CPQ in the background. As you see, the currency is automatically chosen from the opportunity currency. And just like I promised, Becky Brewer is there as the primary contact, and she's going to be visible on the generated quote document. Now, please, everybody watching, don't make any business plans around the pricing that you're about to see. This is all just randomly generated labor hours and material costs so that none of our competitors, if they're watching, can get an upper hand on us. Now, to add products, I'm going to click Edit Lines. Edit Lines will initially take me to a page that shows all of our products categorized by their family. This is just a limited selection of our products, but you can imagine that very quickly you're able to sort through your products. And the search function in this product picking page is extremely powerful. And since I know that this is a system that we've pre-configured, a 10-barrel, 2-vessel system is a very common ask, I'm just going to look up 10 BBL, and just like that, immediately it's there. Obviously, in our real instance, we have over 100 of these pre-configured systems, and just as quickly it would have been found with that search. I'm going to select it, and then I'm going to click Select at the top. And now you see by product family, various products that are pre-chosen and some products that are not chosen. If you can imagine that we as a team built these product configurations, which means that all of the salespeople that are using these every day have a very in-depth knowledge of what's in there, so they can very quickly skip. They don't have to scroll through this to verify what's selected. They know what's there. They can immediately go and jump through and save. Now, as I told you, we had the customer selected 3 uni tanks instead of 4. So this would be where I change that. I'm going to just change that to 3. And as I was scrolling through, you might have seen a little wrench and a red line on our lauder ton. This is what Jean-Michel mentioned by nested bundles. So as you can see, I'm in my master bundle here for the 10-barrel 2-vessel steam system. I can click on this wrench, which will take me to configure extra options that are on my lauder ton. So let's just add an extra hop port because everybody in the world seems to be loving more and more hoppy beers. Now that I've done that, I can simply click Save, and this brings me to my product page. Before I discuss all of the details of the products and how we can modify them quickly within this editor, I want to discuss this big dashboard of information that we have here. Whenever you just start up CPQ, the only two fields that you would see are target customer amount and net amount. Those are pretty self-explanatory. But what we've implemented is two different commission fields and a quote buffer field. The sales and agent commission, I think, are self-explanatory. What we use the quote buffer for is it's an ability for us to start a bit higher above our ideal product margins. And here we see the actual margins that are affected by the quote buffer. Here we have a test margin field, which just simply tells me what should my total target customer amount be if I want my total job margin to be at 30%. And here for this labor rate, which also is not a real labor rate in our company, this field allows us to not have to carry the labor rate on the product. Rather, we can carry it within the quote because, as I mentioned, we had 3 different manufacturing facilities in North America. And this just allows the person to quickly change the labor rate to base it off of the facility where it's going to be built to best suit the customer's needs. Here, we see the overall quote margin and what that relates to in the total value of the quote, the total value of margin. Then we have a breakdown by our North American facilities, our offshore facilities, and by peripheral items that we've just simply purchased and resold. We see what the total of all those values is quoted. We see what the individual margin across those product categories is and what that margin relates to in dollars. And finally, we see freight, which is a non-commissioned item, and we see its total value and margin. This is extremely powerful, something that we've been wanting for a very long time. And another layer of this is that we use these values at different set points for our automatic verification and approval of the quote, or for our sales managers to be able to approve the quotes. So before I move forward, I want to let Jean-Michel explain a bit more about the work behind all of these margin and commission calculations.
Thanks, Vuk. So as Vuk said, that's a lot of information there, and that's really where we leveraged the CPQ feature called price rule. We have more than 20 price rules working in the background there to make sure that all our real-time calculations show up on there. So whenever Vuk or a sales team member chooses to modify the labor rate or sales commission, agent commission, quote buffer, that's going to have an effect on all the products that are on the quote. That's then going to be pushed back. If also Vuk wanted to modify either material costs or labor hours or the product margin on the different quote lines, this would also have an effect on the different calculations that we have on there. And that's really all real time. There's no need to, there's a calculate button that you see on top, but there's no need to click it. Everything is done in real time, whatever a change is made by Vuk or a salesperson at DME. So that's very powerful and gives a lot of information to salespeople over at DME when they're quoting from that interface. Thanks, Vuk.
Thanks, Jean-Michel. So now some of you, I'm sure, were curious why I made you remember that single-sized liquor tank. So I'm going to go back into this, and I'm going to select the 10-barrel liquor tank. We have a typical, we typically try to have as many of the products that we reasonably could see a customer asking for within that pre-configured option as available options in our quote. Now, I'm not going to deselect the 20-barrel cold liquor tank because I want to show it as optional. And I'm going to show you how we very quickly are able to make a product optional on our quote. It's just this one button here, and you can't see its total results, but it's remove this product from the total value of the job, and you'll see whenever we generate the quote how that button affects the look of the quote. Like I said, we are very quickly able to edit all of the products in line. For instance, I can change the material costs. I can modify the labor hours. As I said, quantity is kept within the configuration. I can change my product margin. And if I want, I can apply a discount or actually add to the price by adding a minus in front of the number, all in line. And there you have it. That's how we're able to very quickly modify all of these products line by line. The quote buffer feature, like I said, is also automatically modified. So as you see, as I change it, as I drop it down, I'm able to adjust my quote price without having to haggle on specific product pricing. And whenever I get to 0, you see that my product margin matches my actual margin. Now, let's say that I wanted to go in really high to start. We don't typically do this, but let's just say I wanted to. I would see, okay, I want to start at 40% margin. I'm going to take this value that it's telling me what the total should be at. I'm going to set it to that. I'm going to click enter, and you can see that it adds it to all of the discounts. I'm going to click calculate to clear away those discounts, and now my total quote margin is 40%. Now, the best thing to do whenever you do a force target customer amount is to delete it, because in case I add any more products, it'll actually continue to try to keep that price, and so it'll end up dropping all of my pricing on those products that are already added. Now, the other thing that we're able to do with all products is if we open up this little drop-down menu, here we're able to modify its description. I don't have any descriptions on any of these products. And more importantly, this is where we group our quotes, group our products for the actual quote that we generate. Now, all of these products that are in a bundle, their quote grouping is the same as what their feature grouping would be. But if I add a product from outside of this bundle, which is quite possible and very easy to do, I can select custom quote grouping and give it a matching quote grouping name from one of the bundled products so that it's added into the proper place in the actual generated quote. So that even though the customer doesn't ever have to know that it wasn't a part of our pre-configured bundle. So I'm going to let Jean-Michel explain a bit of the background on this specific feature while I actually add a non-bundled product.
Thanks, Vuk. Yeah, so the idea there was really to give as much flexibility as possible to salespeople at DME when they're creating quotes. So as you'll see Vuk demo there, what this quote grouping and custom quote grouping feature allows us to do well is either on standard bundles, Vuk could have modified the name of the quote grouping to separate one of the products out in the bundle, or what he's going to do right now is add a product that's not typically in the bundle, and he's going to add it to the same quote grouping as products that are in the bundle. So it will allow him to show on the quote document that's going to be generated that product as part of the bundle that was created earlier in there. So it's really powerful, really flexible. This is a custom feature that we've developed in CPQ. Salespeople also have the option to use standard CPQ groups to use these features. So really, we wanted to give them as many options as possible.
And we did get a lot of options, and everybody is excited to kind of learn to use the tool in their own way. And it's been very interesting to see how everybody adapts and finds their own way to more quickly get the proper information to the customer. So save, I'm gonna save. Save really means save and exit. Quick save, if I click that, it would save everything, but it would just keep me on this page. So I'm gonna click save. Before I submit for approval, I'm going to be ticking a little checkbox in our quote page. This expedited order terms checkbox is quick to add, and I'll show you how that affects our actual generated quote. I'm going to click submit for approval. Now, if I knew that my margins were below our targets, in this case I know they're not, I could add a comment here, something like, this is that customer where we had a tight pinch from a competitor. We discussed this. Please approve. Margins are below target. In this case, I'm going to click submit. And just like that, all of a sudden we see 4 different buttons that allow us to generate all the different documents we as the sales team have to generate to move a sale along. And there you have it. This is how quickly we're able to get back to a customer, trusting that the labor hours and material costs are accurate due to our integration with the ERP. I'm going to let Jean-Michel explain a bit more about our other features before we take a final look at the quote.
Yeah, so we do have a couple additional features that we won't be able to see in the demo, but which I can explain. So we have an update price button that's available on the quote before it gets submitted for approval. And what this does is, well, if a customer receives a quote, so DME says that it's valid for 30 days, but customer gets back to us after 60 days. The update price feature will update the current quote, so we don't have to create a new one. We'll simply update the current quote with the most recent cost, up-to-date cost, so we know that we're sending a new quote with the most recent information. What's also very powerful about that update price feature is that if there was any modifications to cost that were made, so if, let's say, a salesperson added 2 labor hours to one of the products, well, it's going to keep that difference to whatever the new labor hours should be. So let's say it went from 8 to 10 as the standard labor hours. Now it's going to be 12 on the quote document. So it is very powerful and always keeps the most up-to-date information. We also have a section on quote, which is called on invoice value. So what this does is, and right now all the values are going to be at 0 because we're not at the invoicing stage yet on the opportunity. But what would typically happen is once the opportunity related to that quote gets to the on invoice stage at DME, all these values get populated with the most up-to-date margin and cost information. So this allows DME to compare the prices that the products were sold at versus what they should be sold at if they were sold today. So because there can be a delay, obviously, between when it's invoiced and when it was quoted. So this allows to see, okay, well, at the moment of selling, I was selling at 25% of margin, but in the end, I'm really only doing 20% on the margins there. So that's also very powerful and allows to have a high level of detail for DME. Another thing we did, well, all the standard costs for DME are in Canadian dollars. So we've created an automation where if any product price is updated on the Canadian dollar price book, it gets automatically updated on the US dollar price book. And we've got the same thing for labor rates. So they have standard labor rates for both their divisions in Canadian dollars. And if either of those get updated, the US dollar value also gets updated for US dollar quotes. Thanks, Luke.
So there you go. And I think, honestly, I think we're scratching the surface. Often we forget some of the features that we implemented because we really did build in quite a lot. So I'm just going to click the generate quote button, and I'm going to generate the quote so that we can take a look at everything that we did. I really hope this has been helpful for people that are, looking to get into this path themselves. Anybody listening, please feel free to reach out after, or I hope there's some good questions. I'm happy to take the conversation offline and help you get a roadmap in place. So you see, everything is being merged in. We're bringing in our details from our quote and opportunity. We didn't fill in any notes here. We didn't take the time. Again, this looks a little bit barren because there is no descriptions, but there's a couple of things that I want to specifically point out. Here you see just with one click of that checkbox in our edit lines for the optional product, we were able to add the word optional to our product name. We were able to show the customer the price and show that it's not included, and also regrade it out, all just with one checkbox. And you see the 10-barrel cold liquor tank that they want. We chose to still show the price because we know that if a customer is interested in the optional item, the first thing they're going to come back and ask is, well, what's the price? Now, with a lauder ton that we use the nested bundle on, you see here's the extra hop port that we added, and it's properly sorted in the lauder ton section. In our unitank section, here we have the 10-barrel unitanks. I must have not clicked save on the 3. And here we see the optional non-bundled 20-barrel unitank that we added, still properly sorted in the unitank section. As I said, you see our pre-chosen 50-50%. And the expedited order terms that I clicked with just one checkbox in our quote field, we were able to add this entire page of details with a summary that allows the customer to very quickly approve this order. We don't typically use this on a full system. We use this if a customer is ordering a few tanks. Any questions to take offline, please do get in contact. Thank you.
That is great. That was an awesome demo, Vuk and Jean-Michel. Thank you so much for that. There are quite a few questions coming in, and I want to get started right away so we can get to as many as possible. So Andrew has a question both for Vuk and Jean-Michel. What are you using to connect your ERP to Salesforce, and is the connection live?
Yeah,
Jean-Michel, please.
Yeah, for sure. So we're using a middleware called Talent for this project. So that's what we're using for a connection. As you saw in the demo, I think you asked the question a bit earlier, but as you saw in the demo, the connection is it's nightly. So we do a nightly update of any changes that are made on the account. So either in Salesforce or Syspro, and for products specifically in Syspro, any changes are pushed back to Salesforce.
we should mention that it's a free tool, correct?
Yeah.
Great. And here's the second question. How long was the duration for the implementation of CPQ piece for DME?
Go ahead. Yeah, I think we started CPQ about 2 months after we started, so somewhere in June after we had merged, after we had gotten to Lightning Experience. So June, and then January 31st is when we officially launched quoting with CPQ. So,
yeah, mean, I could simply add that that's January 31st was the moment we were live for both divisions. For DME itself,
okay.
VOOC, we were actually DME was CPQ was working in August. We started doing training in August. So, but
oh, yes, correct. Absolutely.
It's been live for a while, but we've kept on working on it, adding some features. So all the features that we've shown there were not available in August already. So we've continued building on it. So as the sales people were using CPQ, we got a lot more feedback, and we were able to build on that. And that's, I guess, a testament to the Salesforce platform, to how easy it is to implement new upgrades once the project is already live.
Yeah, I think I was quoting. I myself was quoting customers and closing deals through CPQ only, even in July.
Yeah.
Awesome. And this next question from Marcus is definitely for Jean-Michel. It's helpful to see on the quote page that there are categories such as sales commission, labor rate, and agent. You get these to the quote.
Yeah, so these are custom fields that we've created on the quote object for DME, and then they were added to the field layout in CPQ.
Great. A question here from Beth: do you automatically place the order in your ERP from Salesforce?
No.
Well, we don't push to the ERP at this point for orders. The next phase that was a bit delayed before, because we implemented that second division that was acquired by DME, was supposed to be, so whenever a quote was accepted, we would push that as a project in the ERP system, but that's not live yet. That's still in future improvements.
And the other thing that's slowing us down on that end is that our SysPro team has decided to kind of reset up all of their product codes, etc. So they don't want us meddling in there more than we are right now. But it's definitely possible.
Perfect. There's quite a few questions, so I hope everyone can just stick around while we take a few minutes to answer all of them. Another question is, isn't it a bit dangerous to allow manual adjustments of costs? Is that how you have it live?
Yep. So the reason why we have to do that is because in our sales process, a customer can very quickly say, actually, I'd like another port for this. So there's so many different things that I would agree that modifying the cost can be dangerous. But like Jean-Michel explained, and it's hard to show very thoroughly how it works, the base cost of the product is a separate thing than us adding a specific amount of dollars or hours. So like he explained, if I was to add an extra 3 hours to the labor hours, the actual and the base product changed, and we did the the cost upgrade. Let's say I modified that by 3, and it changed from 5 to 8. My 3 that I added, the base product would now be 11. Again, it's tough to explain, but we need to have it that way. Our salespeople are trained to understand exactly what a small change or a major change in the vessel or any piece of equipment would represent in terms of material costs and labor hours. And often also in the more complex times, we're bringing in the engineering team or our sales engineers to correctly make sure that the product cost is accurate.
And I just would like to add one part to that. So every sales process is different. The use cases are different. We can definitely make certain aspects uneditable pretty easily.
100%.
Yeah, and it's up to the Salesforce admin to it's as easy as a click of a button to restrict edit access on certain fields, or even visibility can be managed. Question for Jean-Michel from Judy. Do you have experience with any government proposals that require specific formats?
Well, I'm guessing that's for the output document. So as you've seen, we used Conga for this project because DME was already using Conga, and because they had requirements to generate documents outside of the quote document. So we're very flexible on how we create those output documents, as it's a Word template that we use where we put all the different merge fields, but it's also as easily doable within the standard CPQ document generation tool. So it's HTML templates, and we can add as many or as little documents as we need to add in there. So, I mean, I'd say the answer is yes without any more specifications. I think the answer is yes.
Yeah, that's great. And I see a question here about having a large amount of custom products. So the question is, if a large number of customers who require custom products, would CPQ still be an effective tool for us? I'd like to answer the info part of this, and then I'll let Luke or Jean-Michel jump in at any point.
I'll take it after you.
CPQ, yeah, perfect. CPQ, like you saw, DME also does a lot of custom configuration, and CPQ can very much handle custom development. Like you saw, you can build certain configurations depending on how much of your product catalog is really custom. So a lot of times what we hear is 80% of our products are, we know these are the popular configurations that customers want, and so you can easily build that configuration into CPQ and make it easy for your sales team.
So absolutely, and you saw there a very limited version of it. The nested bundle that we had in our lauder ton, for instance, had 3 made-up products that I created. In reality, almost all of our vessels have between 10 and 15 or 20 additional products that we customize that we know can be customization, so we don't have to mess with the material cost or labor hours. If it's something that that's outside of that, we can modify it directly on the line. Or what we've added to every single one of our nested bundles is 3 different custom products. One that's a custom North America product, one that's a custom offshore product, and one that's a custom peripheral product, which allows which actually properly sorts them within the within all of those different margin and total calculations that we do, which allows us basically to add any product in the world that we have to add. So we are, as I mentioned specifically, we're a custom shop. We're able to do anything, so we have the ability to customize all the products very quickly. And I'm sure you will be able to as well.
What CPQ feature are you using to calculate in real time the margins on the quote in the edit quote page?
So these are all price rules. So we have more than 20 running, and I guess I mean it is very powerful, but it's also we spend a lot of time on that because they're all dependent on one another, as you saw, because we have the total quote margin and then the different sections. So there's a lot of calculations going on. But as you saw, I mean, CPQ is very powerful, and once it's set up, you've got instant calculations on all these fields.
How would you edit the appearance of line items on the quote? So, for example, changing the table size or how the lines are.
Yeah, so again, I'm guessing this is on the actual output document. So I mean, it's a Word table that was built on the Word template. So it's very easy to decide what columns we want, what size the table should be, or what the default paper size should be for the quote that we generate there.
Yep, and that's part of the beauty of CPQ is the ease of configurability. So whether it is fields or look and feel, getting your right logos in there, getting it to match a certain template, it gives you that agility to make changes quickly, as well as, like Jean-Michel said, get all the details there. We have about 2 to 3 more questions. I'm going to try and quickly get to them. Are you handling various currencies and impacts of exchange rates on margins?
Jean-Michel?
Yeah, so quickly, there's no impact on exchange rate on margins because anytime there's an update on the standard exchange rate in Salesforce, it pushes an update to all the product pricing in US dollars. So whenever the standard currency is updated, we have an update. So we also always have up-to-date pricing on US dollars. So the margin would be the same in Canadian dollars or US dollars.
Perfect. I see that there's a couple of more questions and we are running out of time, so I will definitely make it a point to get back to you. But thank you all very much for joining today, and thanks so much to Vuk as well as to Jean-Michel for an excellent presentation, for taking the time, and thanks to all of you for joining as well, and have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.